You know, eventually, Robert, you and I will meet, and I will question this friend request that has yet to be answered. And chances are it's going to get real awkward between me and you. What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel where I talk into everything pinball. So if that sounds interesting to you, then hit that subscribe button down below. So today, Kaneda's Pinball Podcast put out an episode with an interview with Robert Mueller from Deeproot Pinball. And for those of you that do not know, that is a very rare thing, is to get Robert into a conversation talking about what is going on with the company. Now, I'm not going to be playing any of the actual audio or going over everything bit by bit. I have essentially got a list of just bullet points that I want to discuss and mention. If you care to hear this interview yourself, then by all means, check it out. It's available on probably every podcast platform. I'll leave a link in the description down below so that way you can find it faster. I highly recommend it. So we're going to go down my list here. So first up, one of the things that's discussed is that Raza is a precision game. It's not a flow game. So it's actually meant for those intermediate to pro players because it requires precision on your shots. Do not expect you to just be able to just hit a ball and it go flying around and just doing really cool stuff. It's going to require some skill behind it. And that may be a good reason why it didn't look very flowy and didn't look like it shot very well to the beginners or the ones that weren't familiar with the game. So hopefully that holds true, and we get a game that is pretty fun to shoot once you learn how to shoot it. Raza, the game itself, is only about 95% done. That includes the playfield art, which I thought actually the playfield art was pretty decent. I actually like the colors. I mean, everything looks pretty good. They would say that this is the playfield art final. I'm content with it, actually. These colors, at least in the pictures that we get from This Week in Pinball. Now, the video footage that we saw with the lighting above, no, that didn't make it look good at all, but the pictures, the colors look very saturated and it looks great. And they have 21 titles lined up ready to go. And a lot of those titles are anywhere between 10 to even 50% complete. So I look at 50% being at least the first Whitewood. And I want to say, man, I wish I would have wrote that down, but I want to say 13 of those games, they said that they were at least 50% finished on. So you got to imagine you got 13 different games with 13 different Whitewoods and mechs and designers and everything. That's a lot going on. The cabinet that we saw during the Houston Expo was not a deeproot cabinet. They wanted to make it more familiar and not too new and different, so they put it in a familiar cabinet for those of us to get accustomed to it easier. How different is the deeproot cabinet going to be? We don't know yet. Robert is hammering this down that he is more interested in value more than anything else. So value is definitely overpriced to him. And what was it that he said? If he believes that you think that this game should be priced at or lower a Stern Pro, then that's a problem. And as far as what the prices are going to be, he himself will be making that decision down the road. Each title will be priced differently and marketed differently, and essentially what he's also kind of stated is that J-pop means that this game is going to be priced higher, and the price could change depending on how well or how not well the game sells. As far as when Magic Girl is going to be released, they have special plans for that game, and that includes also Alice in Wonderland that J-pop will also be doing. So it's a couple of games when I think about what Magic Girl already was, let alone being put into production again and making improvements on it. Then you got to throw in an Alice in Wonderland game, and I feel like there's so much potential for Alice in Wonderland, and I'm pretty sure that Magic Girl and Alice in Wonderland are going to be like an SLE, very expensive game. because in order for these games to satisfy us, they're gonna have to be fully loaded. And when you've got an IP like Alice in Wonderland with all kinds of crazy things that can be done, then they better go full on everything. All games will have 1 to 3 different versions, and they will all be treated differently, supposedly in a more value approach. However you want to take that. Raza may have a tier that includes a topper. There is a topper that it's actually been made that Robert is very fond of and excited about. Something else that's supposed to be included in the deeproot package, and that's something else that I'm going to talk about, is that there may be an in-game lighting system similar to the Penn Stadiums included. And there's going to be lots of customer options for their deeproot packages. And that brings me to a question here, is that this is something that he's mentioned so many times, and I don't know why, at least I can't think of a time where I've seen it mentioned before. Why is no one questioning what the hell these packages are? Typically, when a manufacturer is talking about releases, they're always talking about a game launch, or launching a new machine, a new game, not a package. So it's one of those where we're like, what do you mean when you say package? I mean, what does that all entail? Is that, I don't understand. The way I'm kind of wondering is that, is each game gonna be like made to order, like a la carte kind of thing, you know? Like, hey, do you want this game, but you want to upgrade this to this, and you may not want to have these sort of cosmetics, and it's gonna be one of those things where that's good but also bad at the same time. And I'll discuss the reasons behind that at a later point. Robert also states that they are still working on getting the manufacturing process figured out, and he expects that there will be issues. Their playfields will be made of wood. He still does plan to take a hammer to the playfields to prove a point. He stands by the fact that his playfields will be so strong and so much more durable that it's going to make the other manufacturer's playfield look far inferior. He goes into talking about how they made all these kinds of tests, and how you take any current game now and drop a ball from like 3 inches or maybe a little bit higher than that, then you're guaranteed to get a dimple on the other manufacturer's playfields. Whereas he can take a hammer to his and there's not a scratch or a dimple or anything. He gets asked about where he sees deeproot in a year, and what he says about that is that he hopes that a year from now that people can look back and realize and accept that he's basically lived by the promises that he's made, that he's followed through with what he said he would be doing, and that he stands behind value. There's also questions about the reasons why people would buy the games. Like, you know, how does he feel about someone buying one of his games just because of the art package? And he, you know, said that he's highly against buying a game just for how it looks. He cares more about how it plays, which I back him up on that. You know, art is only a portion of it, but if the game is really fun and has a lot of, I'm gonna say it, value in it, then that's where that's where it's pertinent. Towards the end of the interview, it gets a little interesting because he calls Stern out for being weak. That's right. He says that essentially Stern is weak because they are so large. He says that the bigger you are, the easier you are to fall. And here's where I've got to start talking about my feelings on this, is that I feel like that, you know, as per usual with Robert's talking, is that as of right now, it's a lot of talk, and he has shown us a little bit of the walk, but he's still making a lot of promises that have yet to be seen. And it's one of those things where now he's calling out the biggest pinball manufacturer that we have, Stern, and calling them weak. And I mean, I don't see Stern shaking in their boots or anything. I mean, there's a reason why Stern is where they are at, and the reason why they are doing what they're doing. And the reason behind that is because they've been around so long. They've made all kinds of decisions in the past, and they've made all kinds of mistakes in the past. And the thing is that they have people in place on the payroll that have all the research, all this knowledge on the do's and don'ts and what they can and can't do. And if there's anything that Stern knows how to do, is manufacture. And I say that because they can announce a game and have that sucker out there to the public within a couple of weeks. And a lot of them. Whereas what it looks like Deeproot's going to be having is a made-to-order pinball machine of your choosing, like you're ordering a hamburger or something. Just check off the list what kind of features you want in their package, and they will assemble your game and ship it directly to you. That's going to be a little bit more difficult to do, guys. That leaves a lot more room for errors, especially in the manufacturing line. You ever ordered a cheeseburger with mayonnaise and all of a sudden you get it with mustard when you get to the house? Imagine how pissed off you'd be. You spend $7,000 on a pinball machine and then you get it and it's got the complete wrong art package on it, or the complete opposite of what the hell you wanted. You talk about how hard it is to take back a burger. How hard is it going to be to return a pinball machine? But yeah, this is all just speculation. I could be completely wrong on how they're going to be doing their pinball machines, but that's just kind of what was going through my mind as he was talking about it. But with the way he's talking towards Stern and what basically the amount of confidence that he has in his product, the only thing that I really care about is the fact that we hopefully will have a good competition going. And competition between manufacturers and companies in general is always good for the consumer, because this is when the manufacturers are going to be forcing their designers to innovate, and you're going to start seeing Stern going, hey, you know what, let's splurge a little bit more on this. Let's go ahead and throw that extra mech in there. We got to really pump up our value because Deeproot's doing that, and they're starting to sell a lot more games than we anticipated them to be doing. So that is my main thing, is that I'm just looking forward to hopefully there being a battle for our money, guys. That's essentially what we want this to be. We want the manufacturers to be battling over who's going to get our money. Is Deeproot going to get my money? That is yet to be seen. From what I'm seeing, I see the potential, but I don't know if I'm sold. I need to flip this game to make that decision. So that decision is up to you now. Is Deeproot going to get your money? What are your thoughts on this interview? Please make sure you go check it out yourself. These are just some highlights by all means. If you like this video, please give me that thumbs up. And if you haven't already, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you can be notified of whenever I upload something for your viewing pleasure. Until next time, guys, peace out.